You're listening to the uMentor Talk Show. I'm your host, Fatima Al Sayed. On this weekly talk show, we invite experts to take us through their journeys as professionals in their fields. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments section or ask your questions on our Inspire platform. We wanted to remind you that questions can be asked on the Emojin app, Inspire, or directly on YouTube. Um, and on today's show, we welcome Mariam Dahoui Charara. Mariam is the author of the upcoming book series To Enter His Gardens. This is a Figs and Olives Publications product. She received a bachelor's degree in journalism and a master's degree in teaching, with specialties in English and speech. She's also a wife and a mother of two. So we're going to ask her how she did all of this while raising two kids and running a household. Assalamu alaikum, Mariam. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Um, your journey is so amazing. You started in journalism, tried to work in the industry, were like, okay, this is too much. Had to leave to have kids and stay at home a little bit. And now you're the author of a book series, not even just one book, but a whole series, right?
Yeah,
So that's an amazing journey. Can you take us through what inspired you to get into journalism at the beginning? Let's go to the very beginning.
the very beginning.
Mhm.
That was like 10 years ago, more than that. So I've always loved writing. I've always wanted to tell stories. I loved, reading about people and feature writing and all that stuff. And I really just didn't enjoy like any other field. I was really, really like passionate about writing. And so I got my degree I went and, pursued my degree at Wayne State University and I enjoyed it. I loved it so much. Um, Initially, I went in for sports journalism because I'm a big hockey fan and I did an internship with a local sports broadcast station here.
Mhm.
And that was really fun. It was nice, but I started to realize that it wasn't really like practical for my life. When I got married, you got to work a lot of nights and weekends and like go to all the games and stuff like that. So it just kind of became a little complicated,
Mhm.
but I still wanted to write. Um, and I did a little freelancing around my community. But that's really where journalism started at that, like around that time.
When you entered the field, did you feel that it was the right space for you? Did you feel that, as a Muslim, there was some restrictions for you? And how did that affect the way that you sort of pursued your career?
For sure. There were some instances. I remember when I was, I went into the locker room for
Hmm.
the major league sport players and things like that, like to do the post game interviews with the producers at the time. And I wasn't comfortable because, the locker room, they're getting dressed and, undressed. And I just felt it really wasn't suitable for me to be
Hmm.
there. So I did find it like I had to take myself out of that situation, just because
Hmm.
it wasn't the right environment for me, as a Muslim woman to be in. So I definitely had to pull myself out of that.
It takes a lot of courage to stand up to your own values, especially when the Western society is sort of telling you that your hijab is limiting you from doing things, right?
Mhm.
When we are when we are put into these situations, we sort of try to take ourselves out of them. So, what do you have to say to someone who is struggling with this, with an internship or in school where they have to attend activities that doesn't really suit them as Muslims?
So I do believe it's so important to be firm in your faith, regardless of what you're doing and what
Hmm.
fields that you're going into, because that's how we represent ourselves as Muslims. So we can't really, subhanAllah, like in Islam, the fundamental, I feel like principle is that prevention is better than cure.
Mm.
So when you are trying to avoid situations, to not let yourself, commit certain sins or um, just like kind of bend the rules of Islam for just to kind of fit in. I think it's important to try to avoid those situations. Like, for example, if there's like a work function or something where there's like alcohol involved, it's just best to like stay away from that. And I've had that happen to me where like in college, they're like the teachers and the teacher and the
Mhm,
professor and the students were like, hey, let's after class, it's our last day of class, let's everyone's gonna go to the bar.
mhm,
Um, I mean, I had a great relationship with everyone in the class, but that's just not something that I'm not gonna go to the bar and compromise my beliefs,
mhm.
and sit in an environment where it's just not necessary for me, you know?
Yeah.
So you gotta be firm with those values for sure.
Especially when you're, let's say, on your first couple days of your internship and you wanna make a good impression on people, and
Yeah,
they tell you, "We're gonna go have drinks after, why don't you come with us?" And you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna be missing out on, like, a big opportunity to try to, get a job later on
and
because this
network,
is how they build relationships,
mhm,
but is it worth it? Is it really worth compromising my identity and who I am and my firm beliefs?"
yeah,
And you come to the conclusion that no, it's not worth it. No matter what, Allah always has a plan for us. So when we stand firm in our beliefs, we can actually we'll get greater things in the future.
yeah,
Um, and I love that your books really sort of portray that for kids. Standing true to themselves and who they are.
mhm.
Shelly, you're going to tell us a little bit about your books, but let's go through your journey in your master's program.
So I remember I was doing some substitute teaching, like kind of just as like a side thing, like when I was still didn't have my kids yet. And I really enjoyed being in the classroom setting. I enjoyed working with the kids.
Hmm.
I enjoyed teaching, for I did some long-term positions as well. So I actually did teach. It wasn't like a day-to-day position. But I found myself really enjoying that. And I decided to continue my education and can get my master's degree in teaching. And of course, the specialties that I love, which was writing, English, and speech.
Hmm.
And so I really did. I enjoyed that. I did really well. And I finished that in about 3 years after my bachelor's degree. Did it all like while pregnant, had
Hmm.
my daughter, and then finished off my student teaching and I graduated. So I felt really proud of that moment.
Did you find, an added difficulty after you had your kids, and what caused you to pause everything for a while?
For sure. I mean, kids are a full-time job. I mean, I even tried to do a blog at one point, because I was home and I was like, let me just get on Instagram and share some of the, mommy things that I do. And I started to realize like even this is taking up so much time.
Mhm.
You have to give them your full attention, and my husband works a lot. He owns a business. And
Yeah.
so it's hard when you're trying to manage it all by yourself, the house and kids and all of that stuff. So it was really time consuming and took up a lot of my energy and attention. So I had to pause any sort of career aspiration at that point. But I won't
Um,
regret it. I
yeah,
loved that time.
I was gonna ask you, what is the importance of the role of a mother?
It's everything. It's everything. It's the foundation of a family.
Mhm,
And even in Islam, of how high they're revered, moms, I mean, heaven lies beneath their feet. I mean, that just says enough. The role of a mother is so important. It's so critical to raising the child, to the nurturing needs of the child, to everything.
mhm.
I mean, I look at my own mom and I don't know what I would do without her, even till this day. I mean, I'm 32 years old and I'm a mom myself, but I still need my mom. And I'm sure a lot of people can attest to that.
Yeah. I think we can speak to a sort of taboo within our culture where if you're working and not at home, then you're considered not a good mother. And if you are at home staying with your kids, then you're considered, oh, you're just a mom. You
Yeah,
know, did you ever feel that kind of, I don't know, it's that look that they give you like, oh, so you studied this and what are you doing with it now?
yeah.
you know, throughout those 10 years. And how did that make you feel? And what did you do about it at the time?
So I did get some people, will say, "Well, what are you gonna do? When you're, why are you like, what are you doing at home all day?"
Mm.
That question is so infuriating as a mom, and it's like both are very difficult to do,
Yeah.
okay? To work and be out of the house all day and come home and continue the responsibilities that you may have are hard to do. But
Mhm.
it's also people don't realize the not only physical toll that being home and raising children has on a person, but the emotional toll. You know, you're dealing with the tantrums, you're dealing with trying to make them feel better. You're a hundred things, you know. So when people tell me like, "What are you going to do all day?" It's like, "What do you mean? Like, you don't. I wish you were a fly on the wall in my house to see all the things that I do."
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, I know that this is right for me. This
Mhm.
works for me. This works for my family. So I didn't, it did bother me because I felt like I came from a place from ignorance from,
Yeah.
you know, the people who would say things like that. But at the end of the day, like I did what worked for me and my family, and I was happy.
What advice do you have to other moms who are going through this right now, where they feel like they want to pursue their career, but their current life is not allowing them to?
So I say be patient.
Mhm.
I say that there's a time for everybody. Honestly, I didn't know for me this was my direction. I found to want to write later on as my kids got older, like as an author.
Mhm.
But I would tell them just be patient. You know, your time will come. Enjoy the time that you have with your kids when they're young. These times are so precious. They fly by so quickly. Soon
Mhm.
enough, you're going to be looking at photos of them when they were like 6 months old and they're in front of you at 5 years old, and you're like, where did time go? So
Yeah.
seriously cherish those moments, and you will, inshallah, God, like, you know, you will have the opportunity if you really want to eventually do the things that, you know, you hope and you aspire.
Mhm. And like you said at the beginning, you said, "Oh, this was 10 years ago." But 10 years for you went by so fast, right?
Oh my God, it's like like even I still remember every detail of being in the Detroit Red Wings locker room. Like it was yesterday. I could smell like the just the ice and all of that. You know, I literally it's like such a distinct memory. But
Mhm.
yeah, it flies. It flies by.
It's such an amazing experience, for you to have under your belt as well, so, that's incredible.
It's not a lot of things. It's not like not a lot of people would think that
Yeah.
I had that experience.
Or
That's
that,
me.
as a Muslim and a hijabi, you'd be so interested in sports and so, but, when you look at it like we're human too, yeah, we have these, passions and
Right.
everything.
Like I
Um
remember sorry, I remember going to a game,
Mhm.
and I would purposely say like things about the game. Like I would be like, "Oh, that's offsides," or "That's icing," or I would say something like a little bit louder so that people don't think I'm there for my husband. Like I'm there for me. Like he's there for me, you
That's so
know?
funny.
Yeah.
Did you go and fill out gear and everything?
Oh my God, I was crazy fan. Like it was just borderline sick. It was really bad. Like, and I think anybody who went to high school with me at the time would be able to like tell you, like, yeah, she was like, that's all she ever talked about. Because I really did. I was really crazy about them.
Something you mentioned in our previous interview was that this passion for sports translated into this passion for Islam and writing and children's books. So, can you take us through your journey of what inspired you to write To Enter His Gardens?
Sure. Um, so I started, well, I'll tell you this. My grandma, when she passed away,
Hmm.
that was a huge, it left such a big impact on me. I had never
Hmm.
had anybody like super close to me. Well, I did have somebody pass. My other grandma passed away as well, but like my maternal grandmother um, was the first time I saw her like buried like into the ground.
Hmm.
It's the first time I saw anybody buried into the ground. Um, and
And
it
Sorry, is a special community for this, right? Because they're usually you don't really watch the burials in countries that are outside of, let's say, Lebanon or
yeah,
back home. So this is a very special kind of thing that we are allowed to do here in this
yeah,
community.
and I'm honestly so thankful for it
Hmm.
because just watching her enter the her grave, it was just so monumental for me. Like
Hmm.
it was very just eye-opening, and I we I've said this in a previous video, but I walked away that day, and I got in the car with my husband. Everyone left. I just said, we left her all alone. Like, she grew up and she
Mhm.
had this huge family, and 7 kids and like 70 grandkids, and she's alone now, and she took nothing but her amal.
But what an impact she had, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. She was an amazing, amazing woman. And just like leaving that day started having me really reflect about, God, what have I done? Like, what have I done thus far?
Mhm.
Sure, we do the bare minimum, right? But I just started to do my own research and really develop like this love and understanding of Islam, and trying to get to know God. And this journey was so amazing for me that I started to even like realize, like, the more that I got to know God and the more spiritual I felt like I was feeling, I started to change. I felt
Mhm.
myself start to change, and within my dress, within my attitude, within my behavior. And I'm still a work in progress. I have a long way to go. But I did see those parallels with like how much I loved the Red Wings at the time, and how I wanted to do everything about the Red Wings and wear everything Red Wings. And then now it's like, no, my passion's changing.
Mhm.
Passion is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and getting to know him. And it's such a more fulfilling route.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's why I was like, okay, like I'm really feeling passionate about this. And reading books to my kids was something that is something that I love to do. And I would always buy them like Islamic books. Like, we're very fortunate because now
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
we have a lot of like
We
resources.
didn't have that growing up.
No, not at all. But I would read them, like, there's a couple like, I can wear hijab anywhere, or I can make dua
Mhm.
anywhere. Um, but I just felt like I wanted to write something that was missing.
Mhm.
And what was missing was like that older kind of age group that right now I feel is facing a lot of challenges. Um,
Mhm.
especially as Muslims. So like in social media and the materialism and all of that stuff. And I just said, I want to write something that I would want my kids to read and to feel like they're represented, they're not alone, and that, they can learn from.
Mhm. That's incredible.
Yeah.
We have a video that you can sort of walk us through each book. We'll put that up right now.
Yeah, so this is Perceive, Believe, Achieve. This is one of my favorite books. It talks about just the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his miracles.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, this is one of my favorites, probably my favorite out of the
Mhm.
series. Pray, Pray, Pray really just kind of goes into not only the technicalities of prayer, but the importance of prayer and why
Mhm.
it's so important. A bold believer, just having that firm belief and that conviction, that unwavering faith. That's what this book is about. This one is more about like peer pressure in class. If you feel left out, you have an answer, you have a reply. And modesty is, the hijab that is not just, the physical hijab, but the behavioral hijab, the etiquette
Mhm.
of the moral etiquette for men and women. And it's this 5-book project that I really hope becomes a keepsake in every Muslim household. And I loved the journey,
Mhm.
and presented by Fix and Olive's Publications. This is Sahar Jaber's book. But why is hijab so special? It has a beautiful, detailed journey of a girl who tries to figure out the importance of hijab and what makes it special. So I'm excited for you guys to have my books and Sahar's book.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
And there's a book launch coming up. Um, Today is November 10th. It's on the 16th, I believe, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
we're really, really excited for the book launch event. My community has been so supportive, and it's kind of like an exclusive event just for Dearborn. We're already almost at capacity, which is honestly so amazing. November 16th at 6 p.m. at Habib's Cuisine. The close date, like we're gonna like cut off the registrations on November 14th.
Mhm.
Um, and anybody who buys the book from now until then, the 14th, will be entered into a raffle to win a Ziyara trip of their choice. So it's really, really exciting. And it's
This
based on,
show will
yeah.
go live on the 12th. So if people are watching it right now, it is November 12th. So I guess they have a day or two to sign up if they want to last minute.
Yes, and the register link is in my bio
Mhm.
at Mariam Dahoui Charara and in Sahar's bio as well. So at Sahar Jaber.
And we'll put that up on the screen. Mariam D. Charara. Let me know if this is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so something that I wanted to bring up is the process of writing your books. How long did it take you? Why did you choose to publish with Fix and Olive publications? What was that kind of like process for you from beginning to publishing to now?
So I actually first started, it was like a book about hijab. It's so funny. It was a book about hijab, and I just was like, I should really like write, about this. And just as I was learning, I just, like I said, I got really passionate about it. So
Hmm.
I wrote a book about hijab and I shared it with like my sisters and my brother-in-laws and my sister-in-law, and they really loved it. And they were like, "Oh my God, like this is amazing. We love it." And I just enjoyed the process of doing that. So I continued like like the same style of writing, but a different subject and a different topic.
Hmm.
So I wrote three of them initially, and I was talking to my cousin Zainab, and I was telling her like about how I was considering self-publishing and all this stuff, and she's like, "Well, do you know Sahar Jaber?" And I said, "No, I don't." And she told me, she's like, she has a publication company. It's called Figs and Olives. She's like so awesome. I love all her posts. So I went into her page and I messaged her, and she responded back and she was like, okay, I'm gonna look over your stuff. And she did, and she was like really excited to work together. And I was so excited because I was like, oh, finally, Um, and it's funny because with her help, she loved like two of the scripts,
Hmm.
and she was
The
like,
writing styles, right?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
She's like, you need to make them all like in this same way. So I did that. I wrote two more, and
Hmm.
it was really, really nice. Like I enjoyed it so much writing them. And with her help and her editor's help, like they helped guide me like through it. And it's so funny because the hijab one that I initially wrote, I deleted it. Like I ended up
The
just like
whole thing.
the whole thing. I'm like, this is not it. I was like, I can't. My other ones are so much better. Um, so she really helped me like even just grow like as a writer.
Hmm.
Honestly, I don't know what I would do without her because I always say this, but if I didn't have her, my books would probably be a hot mess. Seriously. Not in terms of writing, but just like the way because they are so professionally done,
Hmm.
and it's just she just has an eye for these things. So I feel very fortunate to have worked with her. And
We interviewed Sahan, if anyone wants to listen to her journey and her story. She actually started this publication company from her home in Lebanon with no electricity, with the light of a candle. It was such an amazing story. So,
yeah,
if anyone wants to hear that, just listen to the older episodes of the show.
yeah. And it was, yeah, she's very inspiring as well.
Hmm.
And so I followed all of her directions, and we made a great team. And yeah, that's really it. Each book I want to say probably took me like in it's actually I should say in the entirety of
Hmm.
writing all like the time it took to write all of them, I would say it took me about like 3 months,
Hmm.
to with all the editing and all the stuff and going back and forth. That's probably how long it took me to write it.
That's incredible. You
Mhm.
know,
Thank you.
knowing I don't think many people can say that they popped out 5 books in 3 months. Mashallah. But if anyone is writing, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Um, Find what you're passionate about. Be Don't rush through it.
Mhm.
Take your time. Come back to it several times. Take
Mhm.
a break from it. Walk away, few hours. Come back, and get a good editor. Really?
Um, that's so funny. One thing I wanna bring up before we end our show, we have about 5 minutes left, but what is it like to actually, manage an Instagram page these days?
Oh my gosh, it's like impossible. It's So I try not to get, like, so caught up with the numbers, um, because it's kind of like a full-time job as well. Like, you have
Mhm.
to, be always interacting and engaging with everybody, and, the algorithm kinda makes it difficult for people to grow on the platform,
Mm.
especially if they want you to, like, sponsor your posts and boost your posts and things like that.
Mm.
So, honestly, I'm just like, I try to write for fun. Right now is like that's as much as I can do right now, but I can't even imagine like people who do this like all day, every day, have a huge platform, big following.
Mhm.
It's very time consuming. But it's something that you have to kind of like manage, especially me because I'm like trying to get some of my work out there so that people are familiar with my writing.
Mhm.
Um,
You have to be your own advertiser, basically.
yeah, 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 for sure. You do it. It's kind of like a portfolio,
Mhm.
for yourself.
And if you don't have that, are there like, what are the pros and cons of having an Instagram and not having one? Um, to showcase your work.
So I think that it puts you at an advantage if you have that kind of thing that's public.
I mean, as social media platform, right? Not just
Yeah,
Instagram. Mhm.
yeah, because I think when people are familiar with your writing and they like your writing and it resonates with them, they
Mhm.
will feel more inclined to, like, as an author, want to like see what else my work, what else I have, coming, or if they might feel more inclined to purchase my books,
Mhm.
or and follow me in the future because that's how I am. I feel like if I find an account that is really inspiring or has content that I really like, um, when they want to put out something, it's like, oh, like I'm willing to support this.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's the benefits of having it. Maybe not having it, it's kind of like you're more relying on those who are close to you, maybe in your
Yeah.
circle, to kind of spread that word. Whereas, in the other sense, you're kind of like actually putting it out there
Mhm.
for the public.
Can you read an excerpt for us from one of the books? And
Ooh.
which one?
Okay. Okay, here are my books. I don't know. Let me see. I'll do Perceive, Believe, Achieve because it's my favorite.
Okay.
And I always talk about how it's my favorite, but I'll do Perceive, Believe, Achieve. Okay. Think of the astounding sight of mountains and their snowy peaks, the rumbling volcanoes which from them lava seeps. Or what about the valleys that run so vast and deep, things humans could never create? This is Allah's technique. And then at the bottom here, I wrote it's a verse from the Quran.
Mhm.
And the earth we spread it out and placed firmly set mountains, and we have made it grow in it all beautiful kinds of vegetations, to give sight and serve as a reminder to every servant who turns to Allah.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I can't wait, to attend the book launch and inshallah get my hands on these books and read them.
Thank you so much. The support means the world to me. Thank you.
If you can give one message to inspire the next generation, what would you say?
Just always be God conscious. Because if you're God conscious, you will always make the right decision. That's what I would tell the next generation.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much, Mariam. Unfortunately, we're at the end of our show, but it was amazing talking to you today and learning from you and getting, all of your insight.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Salam.
Salam.
You were just listening to the uMentor Talk Show. If you missed this or future shows, you can always hear the replay on our uMentor website or on our app, on the Emocha app. Thank you for listening today.